Hello and welcome on this edition of How Encounter. We have with us Mr. Ralph de Souza. We have spoken to him earlier in the capacity of TTAG chairman and we have discussed various issues related to tourism. But for the first time, we are talking to him in his capacity as president of Goa Chamber of Commerce and Industries. And we are shooting this interview at a time when state is going through pandemic situation, curfews. And this is also important because this is the first ever interview of him as chairman of president. So before we start, congratulations, sir. You are unanimously elected as chairman of GCCI. Uh,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm the president-elect. I'll be taking over from Mr. Manoj Kakulo, who is the current president, and that will be from July onwards. So at the moment, I'm president-elect. Thank you so much for having me on your channel, Rupesh.
Okay, so to start with, what is the impact on the current businesses right now as far as COVID is concerned in Goa? What has it actually impacted the businesses or business? Many businesses are okay because the industries are on.
See, it has definitely affected and impacted the businesses in a negative way. We've had ups and downs before, but nothing like this. This is something long term. There was the first lockdown that happened because of the pandemic, and then there was the second wave. Again, we have a problem. So, what happens is whenever there are lockdowns, everything comes to a standstill. And when business comes to a standstill, it's losses all around. Goa is very peculiar. Our raw materials come from out of state. Our markets are out of state. So if there are lockdowns, if there are curfews, and if the things are shut, we run short in both areas. So the industry suffers. There was another angle to it is there was this panic, a fear, understandably so, and we have a lot of migrant workers who migrated back home. So again, our industries were without proper helping hands because the labor left the state. Now, all these things put together created a negative impact on the industry.
How do you quantify this impact? Like what percentage of impact it has created on the industry?
That is still being assessed because during the first lockdown, the shutdown was almost across the board. There were very few industries that were functioning, and these industries were like pharma industry. Then later on, those who were in manufacturing process, which needs a continuous work, those were on. Rest were just shut. So we are just assessing the actual losses, which are changing by the day. The dynamics are such nowadays. But we see that during this lockdown, there are a lot of industries that are working,
But
especially
situation is very bad or the situation is okay right now?
No, well, compared to the first phase, we might say there is an improvement, but we are far from reaching the levels that we were in the post-pandemic era.
So right now, how do we actually offset the impact of this COVID? Or is it possible, or we need to wait for the time, and time is the healer kind of sort, also for the industry?
No, we cannot wait for the time because there are heavy borrowings also of the industry and they have to be addressed. If we wait and if we take the good old maxim that time is the best healer, we'll be in trouble because the interest meter is on. There are some facilities given by the banks, but they're not perennial. They are not long term. These are in between to make things easy for us to give us a breather. But we cannot wait for a long term. We have to start. An industry has started with facing all difficulties, and in many places, the costs have gone higher because we have to make arrangements like accommodation for the labor within or outside the industrial estate, transportation, make sure they are vaccinated, social distancing, all these things have gone to increase cost. And also sometimes we have to run, the industries are running below their capacity because want of raw material. So these things are going on. The industry is putting up a very brave front and trying to make its ends meet. But it will take some time to get back to the pre-pandemic era.
So has industry adapted to this new normal of doing business with COVID in COVID situation?
Well, the industry is, because today the parameters are changed. Lot of, they say, unfortunately, work from home is not possible in industry. You have to go to the factories and work and produce there. So, but there are other areas where the industry is adapting itself, especially the MSMEs, the smaller industries. They have to tighten the belts. They have to address the expenses, like the administrative expense or something to meet, and come up with certain survival formulas.
So these survival formulas come with expense. It comes with investment because you need
Come,
to change, modify your existing setup.
employment of technology that costs money. Then, as I've said, that the costs go high because the precautions that have to be taken, and also because of the shortage, maybe difficulty in transportation during the lockdown and curfew times. All these, creates a lot of financial strain, and we have to adapt as well as possible to carry on the work.
GCCI, is GCCI playing any major role to ease out this situation for industries?
Yes, the chamber and the president have taken a lot of issues of the members to the government. What has happened is, the various stages of this pandemic, we have reached the members, and the president and the secretariat have got a list of whatever the grievances are and wherever they can be helped. And the representations have been made to the government. A direct meeting between some of the industry, the stalwarts, and the government have taken place. And wherever possible, we are trying to help. Like one of the things, that there are these utility charges, electricity, water. We have requested the government to defer at least for some time. Then again, the chamber is working on requesting the government to defer certain GST payments and all that have to be done. Of course, government requires the revenue if because government's earnings are from the industry. If industry cannot collect taxes from industry, then it does not have funds. It's a catch-22 situation, but we have been approaching the government to facilitate all this.
Okay,
Also,
when we spoke to Manoj Kakule when he took over as GCCI chairman, one thing which he told us is that GCCI will not be restricted only to few of the industrialists and business houses. Now you will also be including retailers and those who are in the market and
Sell.
also you are taking away this thought process, or you think that only small big business houses should be part of GCCI?
No, let me tell you, the Chamber of Commerce is started by traders. It's a 113-year-old institution. The name itself is Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Commerce is very important, traders are very important, and MSMEs are very important. These are the shoulders on which the economy of Goa grows. And we cannot neglect, we have to encourage and we have to pay special attention to the small sectors. We have got members across the board. We have got about 400 members, plus if you multiply by number of um, companies that the members own, it will cross 2000, 2500. So from across the board. And the chamber has committees even in agriculture, education. So it is across. It looks at a spectrum that will help the Goan economy in toto rather than confining itself only to large industries.
No, but here the thought was that even the smallest of the shopkeeper can become a GCCI member, and if he has a problem with the government, he can route it through GCCI.
Exactly, that's what is happening. We've got a special retail committee where all the shopkeepers and small merchants are the members. And we have got large number of members from shops, and many of the problems of the retailers that were faced during the lockdown, during the hours of curfew and all, they were discussed with the government, and many problems as far as possible that we could were alleviated. And the chamber, Mr. Manoj Kakoladi will intervene in this.
Okay, so one aspect is that while there is a problem faced by industry, there is also a silver lining is that pharma industry is doing very well, because we have seen remdesivir kind of medicine which is required is was produced in Goa. We have seen testing kits being produced in Goa, and Verna is a pharma hub. So is this sector growing right now under COVID?
See, pre-COVID, there were certain sectors in Goa that were doing well. Pharma was one of them. Manufacturing was one. IT to some extent. Tourism was booming. Now, due to the pandemic, tourism is the first to go and last to come, so it's at a standstill. And IT, because of connectivity problems and all, there was some problems with growth. The farmer is doing well. Farmer is doing well because of medication, different not only of COVID, but also immunity, the vitamins that is required to buck your body up to avoid being smitten by the pandemic. That is important. The vaccinations are important. Then the other medication, the tablets that have been administered during the infection, these are important. So the production in this have gone up tremendously. Not only in this, side by side, there are other equipments like testing machines you mentioned, very much so. Plus there are, then there are manufacturers of glove, of masks, of kits, and various other things like oxygen concentrators or pulse meters. So manufacturers of all this stuff, which is today very much in demand, they are working very well in three shifts.
So
But in
will they contribute to balance this entire figures of one side manufacturing industry going down, so another side pharma industry is growing?
Mm, no, they will not, because across the board, once the industry is hit, the pharma itself will not be able to offset. Of course, to a great extent, pharma are expanding their work, and they are also increasing the number of shifts to produce the required things, and the revenues are up. But I don't think this itself will be sufficient to mitigate the deficits that have come across because of the other industries
Okay, so
shutting of others.
one more thing is that right now big industries are also suffering. Smaller
Again, it's shut.
industries are also suffering. Retailers, so that both of them can grow together. For instance, like if you want to outsource something for someone, you will outsource only in Goa, so that that person is also benefited.
Yeah, this is a good idea. In fact, it can work both ways and it's feasible. See, there are two things. MSME can be used to produce certain materials that are required by the larger industry. There are two things that are important here. One is the reliability and the standard of the raw material that a larger industry will. If this is met, larger industry should be happy to buy from MSMEs. Also, it will be to the advantage of the larger industries because the costs of transportation and procurement will be down because locally available. Now, if this type of synergy is available, if we have MSME, small industries that manufacture the requirements of the larger industries, they can work as ancillary industries, and one can help the other, and there can be a win-win situation for both.
Okay, last question, which is very close to your heart. What happens to tourism right now? You said it was first to go and last to come. So,
It's always the case. See, what happens is first people go for the necessities, then whatever they want to do, and last comes whenever you have money aside, you go on a holiday. So it's always the first one to take the hit and the last one to revive, because after everything is said, then you should be in a frame of mind to have a great time. But what has happened now, the first wave put the industry completely into paralysis. There was nothing. Even before that, the year, because of the economic downturn, it was not doing that well, but it was okay. It was not sinking. So the first year, the first lockdown, it was totally paralyzed. Then there was a silver lining. It opened for a few months. And again, unfortunately, there was a second wave. So during those months the few months that we opened, we saw a lot of domestic movement. Because today Goa has to depend only on domestic movement because the international movement is not there. But in spite of the number of rooms in the market, Goa did quite well. Unfortunately, the dream was cut short. So now the vaccination is the only answer. So we hope that the vaccination happens so that more people can come, and we are hoping for a cautious opening in November.
Okay, you are looking at cautious opening in November. But also
November.
at the same time, you all were blamed for the second wave. They said that you should not have opened in last November, December, and second wave would not have come.
No, the question is this. There are some checks and balances have to be taken in place, like the testing when people come in at the borders. However difficult they are, or a negative certificate, if these things are taken care of, to some extent, it can be done. It can be taken. So there are checks and balances that have to be placed because the life of the humans is of first importance, and then is the economic activity. So we'll have to keep these checks and balances in place. We'll have to see the best come so that things are moving smoothly.
Okay, so you open the industry, but with all the checks and balances.
Checks and balances when very caution. We cannot take the human life for granted.
But once people come to Goa, they feel liberated and they start dancing. And some people shoot videos saying that I am liberated soul right now, not a caged parrot kind of videos.
Absolutely, absolutely. That happens. For that, we have to have control over the parties, areas, and big functions. But main thing is vaccination certificates or testing and coming.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for giving your
Okay.
valuable time. And we'll catch up with you again once you formally take over as the chairman of GCCI.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you, Rupesh.
Same
Pleasure.
thing here. You're watching Hub Encounter on your favorite website www.goanewshub.com, and as you all know, this is one website that never sleeps because we provide you information round the clock. So keep watching us.